We're back with another question we get asked a lot, is how do you graft? So how would you take this piece of wood, graft it into a rootstock? It's relatively simple. If you order budwood from us, depending on what variety you order, depending on the size of it, if you get it from us and it's one with a large leaf, it will already have the leaves pruned off. What we do is a technique that is much easier to do than budding. So if you want to actually graft, we start with a piece about 1.5 inches long. We try to face one bud to the left and one bud to the right when it's on the tree. So what we do is we find out where we want to put the bud in a relatively straight spot on the rootstock, and we take the thorns off. Most rootstocks are going to have thorns. There's a few varieties that don't. Unfortunately, we don't use any of those. So we decide we want to put the graft right there. So we want a bud growing to the left and to the right. Now what we have to remember is my employees do thousands of these per day, so they don't always orient the buds correctly with the rootstock, but they try. Sometimes they'll decide to put it on one tree and then wind up putting it on another. If you notice, it's longer on one side than it is on the other, but if you look at it, it's a relatively straight cut. Now when we get right here onto the rootstock, we don't want to go deep into the rootstock. We're just wanting to go under the cambium layer. So we put the long cut up against the tree, the short cut facing out towards you. Okay, that is the basics of the graft. Now what we would normally do before we do all that, but I left that part off so that you could see how it goes in there really good. Now I'm gonna pull it back out. We wrap them in paraffin when we're in the prep room before we get out here in the greenhouse. So you wrap it down to about that far. If you wrap it farther, you cut it with your knife, get it off, it's okay. So when you put it back in, then you continue on around with your paraffin. And then if you see there's a little hole in the top. Now we're not trying to keep water in or keep water out. We're trying to keep moisture from escaping. So we've got it relatively secure there. Okay, now we're going to take about an 8-inch long piece of grafting tape. If you order buds from us, we try to supply this with everything so that you will have everything you need except the knife. Doesn't matter how many times you go around, 3 or 4 times is plenty, and then just pull a knot in it. It's that simple. Now you wonder how secure is that? That's pretty secure. Okay, then if you want to know what's it supposed to look like, say in 2 months. In 2 months, your graft that was put in there, one of the buds will push. This one happens to be a variegated caracara. Everybody wants to know, how long do we leave the grafting tape on? Leave it as long as you can, and then leave it a lot longer. I would rather it cord the tree a little bit because it's not going to hurt it, but you're not worried about your graft breaking out if it falls over. Once you take it off, that's what you're going to be looking at. And the paraffin can be left on there. It's not going to hurt anything if you leave the paraffin on. But you can see that one has healed up relatively well. Thanks for your time.